an hour of truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome everyone to Radio Free New York. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, and we are joined by a guest this afternoon, Tim O'Connor, who is running for New York State Senate in the 51st Senate District, which of course reaches just a little bit into some of our listening area down in our partner stations, WENY down in the southern tier, the Patriot down there, the listening area. It's a bit in your district, Tim.
Fantastic.
But, yeah, so Tim, tell us who you are, why you're running, what you're doing.
Those are great questions, bud. We're looking at the Cortland Marathon area where you reach, where our reach overlaps. Now, I'm running for New York State Senate, District 51, and we're the heart, the breadbasket, the Rust Belt of Central New York. Okay, we've seen an economic decline over the last decades, and the solution always seems to be more government. They keep forcing us with more virtue, more government, more taxes, and they chase people out of the state. I have a 30-year-old kid moved to Richmond, Virginia because she can't make a living here, and I want to change that. We've got to reinvent, reimagine, and redo governing. It's a mess, man. We can't pretend it's not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you'll find a sympathetic audience here on Radio Free New York. And so you're running as a libertarian, right?
That's correct, sir.
All right. Why? Why you want to run with those folks?
Well, because they're crazy enough to be just like me, bud. I mean, there's conservatives here, there's liberals here, and we're seeing the state, this omnipresent train wreck. We're driving towards the Titanic, and our only power is to rearrange deck chairs. And we've got to do something about that. So there's people that love the state, and they want to point a gun at you and force you into their solutions. And we see that that's not working. It's a complete failing model all over New York. And we libertarians can do better.
Yeah, no, I mean, so yeah, I agree. I think that there's definitely some opportunity to better, and to offer a solution outside of the two-party system. So before we go much further, because of course, I love talking about the actual policy solutions. Like, tell us a little bit more about your district. So you're running in Senate District 51. Yeah. For those who don't know where that is or what that looks like, you described it as Central New York, which, of course, I'm familiar with. I'm from the Utica Rome area. We call ourselves Central New York there originally. Right. But what does this district cover? What does it look like?
Okay, so it looks like a ray gun, a Martian ray gun. It goes all the way down to Ulster County, all the way up to Herkimer County, and then all the way out to Cortland County. It's gerrymandered. It's a rural community with some small towns and college towns. Our primary industry is tourism, agriculture, and education. So when we look at it, it's literally has the size of Connecticut, just this district. So
That's
as we
big.
travel through it, it's a beautiful, lush area with houses falling in the ground and schools closing. And all of those things that we see all over the area, all over New York, but it's sort of exacerbated here. So we have answers, we have solutions. We need to grow hemp. We need to legalize marijuana in a way that it benefits individuals in our community. And that concerns me that it'll never happen that way with the omnipresent, omnipotent state and the rules that they make.
Right. So we got, like specifically with like hemp agriculture, right? Like there's people are able to grow it now. Of course you gotta get permission from Andrew Cuomo and his and that state apparatus, right? But it's not
Right.
easy. You can't just like show up, be like, yeah, I'm gonna grow some hemp today, and like that's what makes sense. There's a market for it, and start planting. No, you're not able to do that, right? So like that's
No, you've got to fill out all sorts of paperwork. You've got to dedicate a certain amount of acreage. You've got to provide that to your local sheriff department. And it's like, okay, so you can grow hemp, but it seems like such a hassle that we've got to do better. We've got to make it easier.
Yeah, I mean that's how it goes with a lot of stuff in New York State, right? They'll be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, well, technically that's legal. You're allowed to do that. You just got to go through the process, and the process
Yeah.
is to ensure safety for you, for the consumers, for the entire community. So, like, don't you care about safety, Tim?
I think that I could watch a hemp farm in my backyard. Okay, I could oversee it. I could protect it. The police explained that maybe some kid's going to sneak some actual marijuana seeds in there and then harvest the crop, so they want to keep an eye on it for you. Some of those things make sense, but it's like this regulatory burden. There's a $500 fee to grow it. So the farmers that can afford to do it, this is like a rounding error, excuse me, like
Yeah.
$500. It's no big deal. But if I just want to go grow hemp, I could actually get busted if I don't jump through all the hoops. And I think that that's a problem. It's going to be a discouraging situation.
Yeah, and again, that's exactly what ends up happening with a lot of businesses in New York State, right? Like it's a bunch of these things that like kind of on the surface you're like, oh, well maybe that sort of kind of makes sense, right? Like I can see the logic and why you're adding this stuff, but when you add thing after thing after thing, it becomes impossible to operate a business in a normal manner. And unless you have an enormous amount of time and usually money to pay for lawyers to jump through all these hoops correctly, because goodness, if you do something wrong, they're gonna nail you. They're doing like, oh well, you should have done it right if you didn't want a $50,000 fee. Like that's how these things end up going.
We see that all over. It's not just hemp, right? Like certificates of need. If you want to open a medical facility, you've got to prove to your town that you need the medical facility. And none of that makes sense. It's anti-competitive competition, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so we look all over New York and we see these rules that are preventing us from interacting with each other, that causes them to take our money, take it to the state, and hurt our neighborhoods, hurt our communities. I don't know. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do know exactly what you're talking about. Again, I think the listeners of this station, whether they're in your district or they're in Livingston County or the Southern Tier or anywhere, they're seeing some of these same problems here. Which is why I've heard you talk about some of these issues before, and why I wanted to bring you on the show, because again these are problems that are faced all across upstate New York, right? Like we're all seeing this, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
and oftentimes like the problems in our community originate with New York State policy that make it impossible for our communities to thrive. And that's the frustrating thing to see over and over and over again.
Yeah, so I had some people reach out to me about rural broadband. This is something we're all kind of paying taxes for. It's been licensed, it's been approved through the New York State Assembly and the legislature and endorsed by Andrew Cuomo. But they grant licenses and they grant regions. So we have two possible competitors in our area that want to provide internet broadband. And with schools not opening and opening late due to this government response to the COVID crisis, what we're seeing now is Spectrum, the biggest of the two, sending lines down roads and ignoring pods of houses with 40 or 50 people, where the competitor to Spectrum, which I can't even think of their name right now, which I wish I could because I want to give them a shout out. They're out putting lines in and they're delivering broadband up roads. But since it's licensed and jurisdictionalized, right, Spectrum can just say no to 40 customers because the fiber optic cable that's going in is just too expensive and they'll never get their money back. The other businesses like, we would take those guys, give us a shot at them. I think it's Otsego Rural Development or REA. It's part of the option to NYSEG here where you can get a local provider for your electric to manage your lines, but there's not any real choice there. It's kind of make pretend choice almost.
That's interesting, and I don't think we have time to get into that right now. But like the rural broadband, rural like access to services like this, how do you manage that in a free market setting where some of these companies they're like, we don't feel like providing it. So like, what's the barrier to getting that? So we'll talk more about that with Tim O'Connor, who's running for New York State Senate in District 51, in just a few minutes here on Radio Free New York. Talk to you soon.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whenever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Catch a wave at Baltimore.
Waterworld opens daily at 11 with a giant wave pool, water playgrounds, relaxing river, and exciting body and tube slides like the incredible new 6-lane Rally Racer. The Rally Racer is the longest, fastest slide in Waterworld. Come experience the excitement as you race your family and friends. And Waldemere opens at noon with a variety of thrill rides and family rides like the exciting new Whirlwind spinning coaster. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, Waldemere is limited to 50% capacity, so there's no free admission. Guests must purchase admission tickets at waldemere.com or at the park. Children under 1 are free. Face masks are required. So visit waldemere.com, purchase your admission tickets, and come have some fun.
Catch a wave, catch a day at Baltimore. Your wet and wild summer getaway. Excitement waits for you at Baltimore. Baltimore in Erie, PA.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host here today, joined by Tim O'Connor, who's running for New York State Senate in District 51. And of course, shout out to our friends who are listening, not just on WYSL. We're here live noon to 1. And if you want to give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000 if you want to call in and ask Tim a question. But of course, shout out to our friends on the line at WENY, the Patriot, in the Southern Tier in Elmira, and WACK out in Newark. Thank you, folks, for listening today. And our friends who are listening online, too. Our friends on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of those places. You guys rock as well. Thank you for being here today on Radio Free New York. So, Tim, before the break, we were talking about rural broadband, right? And so, this is a big issue in some parts of New York State. And, like I live in the city. I live in Rochester. I can choose from Spectrum, I could choose from, Frontier. I got green light access in my area, which is a nice fiber system. In a lot of rural communities, as you're kind of describing, and as many of our listeners would know and understand, is you don't have those same choices because it is expensive to lay down those lines. If you're gonna, lay out, a half a mile of cable to reach one or two houses, a lot of these internet companies are saying, well, that just ain't worth it. We're never going to make our money back. So does New York State need to subsidize this, or are there other barriers that New York State's implementing to having other types of competition in these areas?
Yeah, so as libertarians, we're trying to come up with nifty solutions to problems like this. And I don't know that I have the perfect answer, but we're looking at the situation, and it's almost like Wi-Fi's become an infrastructure issue. Should at some point the government say the infrastructure is ours and you pay us for it? Because there's literally kids who can't attend school but also can't access internet. And so how do we combine that? First of all, even here we could do better with more competition, because one company is in fact saying, we'll bring you the internet right to your door. And the bigger company that's more involved in the corporatocracy with New York State is saying, well, that's not profitable for us to head up there, and we're meeting our target installations anyway just by going down this road 3 miles away from you. So where do we go? That's a great question, and it's a challenge. But the answer is for now, we've got to get these kids internet access. And so the government could own the infrastructure. The companies could sell the internet access, and maybe we'd get a more competitive price. So those are things I've been kicking around since Monday, when I was made aware of this situation by a potential constituent.
Yeah.
So I don't know, which way would you take it?
Oh, so you're interviewing me now. All right.
Yeah, sorry, turn it right around,
Yeah, no. That's a fair question, because I think about this stuff too, right? Because I'm, here's my kind of inclination is that, like, I get that in some municipalities, the government, right, will put in the fiber, they'll build the infrastructure, and then, like, the internet service providers just access part of that bandwidth to be able to provide their services, right? So, like, that's sort of kind of what happens in parts of Monroe County, right? Because the county just built a bunch of infrastructure. Now the problem is that you put in all these sunk costs, and when there's innovations in the market, it becomes much harder to adapt, because now you have this big subsidized infrastructure that you're not able to get around. When we eventually do get, like satellite internet, that's going to be huge for rural communities. Like, if you're able to access cheap satellite internet, and it's good and reliable, and it doesn't cut out on every cloudy day, because I've used, satellite services for other things before too. That's going to be great. So how can you do that, bounce off the signal, and be able to serve these communities effectively without government infrastructure? And my only pushback to what you said, and again, I'm not saying you're wrong, and I understand that you're a lot of your constituents feel this way, but like, why should I, as a city dweller, subsidize the infrastructure for rural communities? You guys chose to live out there, so why should New York State, and therefore my taxes, pay for anything, fiber, roads, water lines, gas lines, and building this stuff out, which doesn't always pay for itself with, like, property taxes over time? So why should we do that stuff?
Brother, as a libertarian, I'm right there with you. You made the decision to live out there, but we are reaching a point where these licenses have been granted. There's a portion of our tax dollars that are everybody who's involved with Spectrum, they're already being charged, as far as I understand it. And feel free to correct me, but I think that's what's going on.
A lot of times you're right. Like, the state has kind of already paid for some of this stuff, and now they're like, nah, yeah, but we're not going to take it the extra step. And I'm like, well,
about a year ago, Cuomo was threatening to pull Spectrum's business license because they weren't meeting their targets on rural internet access. So I guess based on that news, I make a presumption, or intuitively see, that we're already paying for this, that this infrastructure has already been paid for. We've already bought it from a corporatocracy that's heavily involved in licensing and regulations and buying regulations. So don't they have an obligation to provide that? Didn't we already make that agreement? And so how do we deliver that agreement better?
Yeah. All right. So it sounds like we got a caller on the line. Bob from Henrietta.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
Good. What's going on, Bob?
The host just mentioned my main point here. Aren't you just asking somebody else to pay for your service?
Yeah, Bob, the point is that we've already paid for it. It's not so much that I want it to be that way, but we've already paid for it. Don't we have an obligation to deliver it?
The Spectrum deal was a blackmail thing by Cuomo. Spectrum was getting bought by Charter or somebody like that, corporate gamesmanship. In order to allow that deal to go through, Cuomo blackmailed Charter.
That sounds like Cuomo.
Yeah. You're betraying, you claim to be a libertarian, but you're betraying the very principles, because libertarians aren't going to want other taxpayers or the government to pay for their services. There's a lot of very good things about living in the boonies, but there are some very bad things too. You want to have the good things without having to pay for the bad things.
I don't think that's exactly what I'm saying, but I think your criticism is fair, Bob. Don't get me wrong. All right, we're wrestling with a complex issue for sure. All right, what we have here is a company that says if that was our area, we would deliver it. What we also have is the agreement between Spectrum and New York State to deliver rural broadband. So, as a libertarian, a promise was made, a contract was made, and so now don't we have an obligation to enforce it? And I certainly understand, I don't feel as though I'm betraying libertarian principles, but I'm saying we need more effective governance, and I think that's the issue I'm wrestling with.
Step out of it.
Yeah, Bob, I think we'd all agree on that part, right?
Yeah, no, definitely, man.
Yeah, so I think we all agree, and I think, Bob, you're kind of echoing the criticism I threw at Tim too, which I think Tim thinks is fair, and I think what we're all trying to figure out too is, right, like if you're going to live in these areas, how do you navigate? And again, thank you so much for the call, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
How do you navigate, paying for these services in these areas, and is it fair for New York State to do that, or do we need to open the markets a bit more? Do we need to get the government out of it? What's the solution here?
Well, that's kind of the point I'm leaning towards. There is a company here, the REA, that would take advantage of this group of houses. Okay, they're circled around a lake. It's a beautiful area. They would get in there and they would deliver the internet service that these kids require, and they feel like they would make money. So like Spectrum's overhead is kind of interfering, and so we're talking about. And Bob, believe me, man, I get what you're saying. I really do. But we still have an issue of a promise that was made that the government isn't meeting.
So, like if we're looking at this deal, right, and we're, even if it wasn't made with terms that we would like or appreciate, right? Cuomo's strong-arming folks because he's just like, as he does with a lot of this stuff, he's strong-arming folks in the deals that maybe they wouldn't want to agree to. But the point is, right, like, well, they said they were going to do this thing, so now because this deal's in place, it also prevents other folks from moving in because, like, well, they got this turf, right? Like, so why would I want to move in and try to compete here when this other company has a deal that they have to put in lines here? So again, we've created this system where we have an expectation of lines being put in, of access to these services being, promised, and now a free market no longer exists for these services.
And the free market would deliver it if these two companies were freed up to compete through, and I guess it terrifies me to say, but government-owned infrastructure, okay? That the fiber optics owned by the government, and then REA and Spectrum can compete for customers. The customers are going to get a cheaper price. Then we see an effective way of the government, like the government provides roads, okay? As a libertarian, I'm not really criticizing that. I'm saying, why do our roads cost $30,000 a mile and roads in Texas cost $10,000 a mile? Let's fix that.
Now that's a great question. All right, so we'll be back in a few minutes here on Radio Free New York with Tim O'Connor, candidate for New York State Senate in District 51. We will talk to you soon.
Now, more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. Mainly clear skies. It will still be very comfortable out there. We'll drop down well into the 60s, some towns into the upper 50s. On your Friday, another gorgeous day with plenty of sunshine. Temps will be in the low to mid 80s for a high. On Saturday, we'll start to see a little more humidity come in. Might be a storm late in the day. Some showers and storms possible Sunday. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
It's zero down summer lease special savings now at the all-new Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Anthony Drive off Route 96 in Victor. For a limited time, lease a 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4x4, just $309 a month for 42 months. Zero down. Has diamond black crystal pearl coat finish, 10,000 miles per year, MSRP $37,585. Must have Grand Cherokee lease and be returning lessee. There's the 2020 Ram 1500 Classic pickup in bright white clear coat, just $259 a month. Zero down, 42 months, 10,000 miles per year, MSRP $41,290. Must be conquest or returning lessee and use 4 Ram bonus coupons while supplies last. Check the 2020 Jeep Compass 4x4 in glistening white clear coat, just $239 a month. Zero down for 42 months. MSRP $29,345. Must have conquest or returning lessee. On all deals, must have first payment, taxes, and all fees due at signing. And don't forget zero down. Welcome back to the all-new Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6560 Anthony Drive in Victor. Save big on America's favorite four-wheel drive vehicles.
Did Mom leave the stove on again? Dad forget to take his pills? The senior citizen in your life deserves to be treated like family in every way, and you deserve the peace of mind that comes from knowing your older family member is getting personalized care, even though they're not yet ready for a nursing home. Consider Alpine Manor, founded in 1971 by owner Tim Kinsella, and just 20 minutes from Rochester in Lima, Livingston County. At Alpine Manor, there are supervised activities and medications, full laundry and housekeeping services provided to your loved one in immaculate surroundings. You can move to warmer regions secure in the knowledge that your loved one is well cared for back at home. You could qualify for $1,830 per month VA benefits or $1,176 per month for a surviving spouse. Alpine Manor, New York State Health Department licensed. Call 346-5880 for a no-obligation tour or information, or visit alpinemanor.com.
Medicare. Polano & Company makes it easy. If you are new to Medicare or reviewing your options, give Polano & Company a call. We're local and can help you make your best decision at no cost to you. Polano & Company is located at 15 Schoen Place on the Canal in Pittsford. Call us at 585-385-6010 or visit us at polanoco.com. Polano & Company, serving the greater Rochester area for more than 35 years.
Yes, it's Turnbull tune-up time for your air conditioning system. Whether you have an attic system, a ductless wall mount system, or even a conventional central air conditioning unit attached to your furnace, call Turnbull today to schedule your appointment to save energy and money. If you need a new system, Turnbull can provide a free estimate to meet your comfort needs and budget. Call Turnbull today, 343-2005.
You'll be comfortable with the best. Turnbull Heating and Air.
In Avon and Livingston County, call 226-6180.
Eisen Rochester is a full-service ophthalmology office, and we specialize in general ophthalmology, taking care of people from childhood to adult and seniors. We do general eye exams. We specialize in cataract surgery, corneal surgery, and disease, as well as LASIK surgery. We also have a full-service optical shop and contact lens fitting service.
Visit Eyes on Rochester at 1157 Fairport Road.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, and thanks again, everyone, for joining us on WYSL. We appreciate the phone calls in. If you want to participate in the conversation, give us a call at 585-346-3000. Give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. And we're, of course, getting comments online, too. Jay talking about saying, a friend of mine got Spectrum down in Springwater, way out in the sticks. Able to do it. Empire Access is apparently building stuff out in Ontario County, a fiber ring out there, too. And following up with saying, getting New York State bad deals out of the way and letting multiple smaller companies compete would be the best solution. Again, people are debating in the comments, which I appreciate, kind of the same debate, like who should pay for this, right? Like who should pay for it? How should we do this? And I got a question from Mark Legowski, who's our dear friend in Hamlin. Love him, and this is always his question. He says, will Tim enroll in the Libertarian Party?
I am a registered Libertarian, so yeah, I'll enroll. I'm actually won my first election. I'm going to be a state rep for JD6, so I'm going to help craft these rules moving forward. I'm going to help reach out and grow the Libertarian Party. So I'm here for you, Mark.
Yeah, that's a good friend, Mark. We'll tease him a bit because that's always what he asks. Like, we've done I've seen him do candidate interviews before, and that's always, hey, well, why not enroll Libertarian? He's a strong advocate for the party. But, we want to talk about the big ideas here, though, because not everyone listening here today is going to be Libertarian. In fact, I think most people aren't. They're going to be Republicans, Democrats, Independents. So besides the rural broadband issue, what are some of the big issues impacting your district? When you've been talking with voters, what have they been saying is really important right now?
Okay, as Libertarians, we're always talking about home rule. And when we go to talk to our elected officials, and this is a roundabout way of telling the story, so bear with me, guys. We go to our elected officials and we say, can we start pushing back on these unfunded mandates? And right here in my home county, the elected officials went ahead and crafted a law to suspend the 2% property tax cap. After telling us over and over again, every rule that's handed to us by New York State, we have to go along with. So if they can suspend that rule, why can't they suspend other rules? Why can't they endorse a Second Amendment county, a sanctuary? Why can't we do that? And we can, and we know we can. If we can change the property tax cap, we can change other laws that are going to benefit our communities. This one's going to raise everybody's taxes because New York State's not paying its bills. But the other side is possible too, and we got to start taking moves in that direction. Period.
Yeah, no, absolutely, totally. If these local governments can supersede the property tax, why not the regulations? Why not some of the unfunded mandates? Why not just let counties be counties? It's something we always talk about. So we did get another caller. Matt is on the line from Clarendon. Matt, what's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for taking me on the program. I actually have a couple questions for you. I missed a lot of the hemp discussion due to work, but I also am going to be closing on a farm pretty soon in the Clarendon area. Very rural. Most people would say Clarendon itself is rural, but I'm really interested in finding out more about the rural internet access. I guess you could say program. I was considering talking with Representative Hawley about it, since I think it was him who really put it through. But I'm pretty passionate about growing different types of fibers and whatnot for clothing. How can small farmers versus big farmers get in on the programs without having to pay that $500 fee?
Yeah, see, that's one of the problems is the government comes up with a bunch of rules. that is going to make it hard for a guy like you to just throw hemp in your backyard. So what's the downside if you do just grow hemp in your backyard? They're going to fine you, brother. But they're going to have to try hard to do that. So why wouldn't you just grow hemp?
Work with, just do it. Is there a way to work with local colleges, like let's say SUNY Cobleskill or Morrisville, things like that, in order to do research plots for them? Is there a possibility of that area?
My understanding, Cornell Cooperative Extension, back when I was researching growing hops in upstate New York, they get very active in issues like this. They're a resource for information. They usually have a guy that will come out and talk with you, which is fantastic, okay? And now here I am, like, big government talking about all the great things. Right. But these things are being done.
You got to navigate it, right? Like, so that's what Cornell Cooperative Extension and some of these other places are for, because there's probably opportunities out there. You just got to know how to navigate it well, and that's the tough part.
Yeah. So the part about navigating hemp is selling it. All right. There's no processing facilities there. You've got to take it all the way south, somewhere south of Ulster County, and then there's one up north, but I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank right now. But we need more processing facilities, and that would help us grow hemp.
Great. So, Matt, do we answer your question, or do you have another one?
I wanted to chat a little bit about the rural internet issues. If we've already paid for it, if my tax dollars have already gone towards it, shouldn't we try and implement it? But also, we have lived without internet before. I use my local library, for instance, in order to, download podcasts and whatnot, and then go home and listen to them later. So sometimes thinking outside the box and not necessarily having it directly in your home is still a possibility. We just have to, hopefully, learn to work around some of those issues.
What I had suggested to the guy that I was talking to, because he used to work for me, he's very active. He's building a compound up on top of a hill, and I'm like, get access to where the internet is and build a little schoolhouse, because that would be kind of epic. So haul in a shed, get 6 computers there, 8 computers, have the kids sign up, and then they don't have to drive 25 miles to get to school. Maybe they just jump on their four-wheeler. So there's creative solutions that I can suggest for each individual. But the reality is, this deal has been made. They cut out licenses and swaths of territory, and what happens is that it's not actually competitive. It's a corporatocracy. It's somebody buys a regulation, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
very good.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for your time, guys. I'll let you get back to the discussion and hop off with you, but thank you for your comments.
Hey, thanks for the call, brother. I appreciate it. Really do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. So, I mean, again, lots of discussion on the internet issue. Apparently, we should have been talking about this before, but yeah, so that's, that is what it is. And again, those creative solutions are I think, where it's at, right? Like, and we're seeing a lot of that in response to education right now, in particular. It's everywhere. We've done a show on it here, on education plans here in Monroe County, and some of the other surrounding school districts. And well, let me ask you about that. Like, how do you feel about what's going on with the state of education in New York State now, with everything being up in the air?
Well, basically, I think that the government response to COVID has been somewhat of a failure. Not that COVID isn't real. It is real. It's extremely dangerous. If you're over 60 years old, do everything you can to not get COVID, all right? But when we take a look at the school reopening plans, right now, inevitably, every school is going to close back down. Our local plan, if one kid gets COVID, the entire school closes for 2 weeks. So we're not even going to send our kids back. They're going to participate in education online until either the guidance changes or by some miracle COVID goes away, or we recognize how dangerous it is for certain age groups. We start responding better.
Yeah, and that's interesting, how many schools are doing this, right? So they're like, okay, one kid gets sick, you're going to shut down for 2 weeks. All right, what happens when another week later you find another kid who tested positive? You're just going to keep shutting down over and over again. Like, that's not functional, right?
You could literally be open for one day and close back down for another 2 weeks. That's insane. Right? That doesn't work.
It's not going to work, yeah. And again, the promise, the expectation is that parents are going to have somewhere safe for their kids to go for the day, so they can go to work and whatnot. And we can talk about how maybe we don't always like that ideologically, but that's kind of the promise that the state has made to folks. So how do we readjust to the education system given the reality of the circumstances at hand? Maybe we'll continue this conversation in the final segment here on Radio Free New York, joined again by Tim O'Connor, who's running for New York State Senate in District 51. We'll talk to you in a few.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice, save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe, ride free, ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today, joined by Tim O'Connor, who is running for New York State Senate in District 51. We've been talking about rural broadband, rural internet. We're talking about education a little bit and some of these education plans coming out. And these issues are kind of connected too, right? If a lot of schools are transitioning to hybrid models or sometimes fully virtual models, if things get shut down, these issues are connected. If you don't have access to the internet, that's going to be an issue, right? So what should New York State do anything to help facilitate this type of learning, or and I've asked this question before a couple weeks ago. should parents get some of their money back from the school system to be able to pursue their own education options?
Hey, if you're asking me, I'm telling you that we can reinvent education. We can do it so much better. When we deal with the state, the argument could it be for us individuals, let's provide education better and let's provide it cheaper. Now, one of the ways that that could be done is taking full advantage of the internet. Kids don't socialize in chemistry class. They don't socialize in biology class. I listen to teachers and I love my teacher friends, okay? But that's silly. You don't want them socializing in history class. Where they socialize is in sports and plays and open gym and study hall. And that we can keep that and maybe save money, maybe save our communities, maybe keep a school open by using the internet. And that would be huge because these things can be the cultural centers of our communities. They can grow our communities instead of taking more and more money and answering to the state with stuff that doesn't make any sense to our communities. And we see that that's an issue, okay? Our kids come home with crazy ideas. They want to talk to us about politics, and you want them to tell you what they learned about in math or what they learned about in history. And I don't know, man. I don't need that stuff in school. My kids are smart. They're going to do great on the online options, so it's fine.
Yeah, and that's why I always think like there's probably great online options for, the curriculums and pedagogies that have been developed specifically for that purpose. And and this isn't to knock the teachers. Like I know many incredibly hardworking teachers who are trying to make this work, and I'm not trying to knock those, but there are professionals who are out doing this. They built effective online learning strategies that could be a great benefit to kids who aren't able to be in the classroom, right? And they're just going to be more effective at hitting those core concepts and maybe finding better ways for kids to be able to access those materials is maybe a better solution than what we're trying to do now, which is trying to clump together this schooling model that is very difficult to implement during a pandemic.
It is. And the schooling model, and this is, again, with all due respect to the people doing the hard work in the education system, all right? It's aimed towards the low, middle of performance. And that, the internet can open up avenues of creativity and advancement, and it can also help kids at the low end at the same time. With their kids process things at different speeds. So the internet can help them take advantage of their processing speed.
Right. They can learn at their own pace, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Thank you for simplifying it.
Yeah. That's what it is, because sometimes you get in these, classroom models and, the whole class has got to move on at some point and stuff, right? Just got to go, let's pick the average and we're going to learn at this pace. And this is how, the bell curve of kids is going to learn, right? Some kids are going to be like, oh, I got this stuff, I'm bored. And then some kids will be like, I do not get this stuff, we need to stop. And a lot of those kids end up falling behind in that system.
Yeah, they do, man. And then the kids that could learn so much more, so much faster, also don't meet the best of their ability, okay? They're stifled, they're stymied, they're held back. So how do we fix it? The internet's a possible fix. While we can save our schools and these community centers, and as a libertarian, maybe I sound crazy, but that stuff's important to me.
No, yeah, it is. I think education's important, right? We all want education. We're just saying, maybe the one-size-fits-all government model doesn't have to be what we do. There are more possibilities out there.
That's exactly what we're saying, man. There's models in Wisconsin where they grant people money and they say, here, pursue your education. Get out there and find the right school for you, find the right interest track for you, and take advantage of it. Now, New York's overall educational performance isn't that great anyway. So we ought to be thinking about reinventing this stuff. It's not like we're not even doing better than Kentucky. And I love the people in Kentucky. They've told me stories. Their area is like my area. It's the same thing. There used to be factories. There's used to be farms. There's stuff that used to happen that's not happening. But our education model in New York needs improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now we got like 5 minutes left, so I want to give you any other big issues that you want to mention and talk about here.
Well, I kind of losing my. We got into some great issues: education, the cable infrastructure, and the solutions to home rule and taking advantage of the fact that we can make laws that benefit our communities. But in New York, invariably, everywhere you look, taxes are too high, regulations are too oppressive, and every time you turn around, you feel like you're going to end up with a boot on your neck from the government, from Andrew Cuomo. One of my big issues is we actually had to go to Rand Paul in upstate New York, who came to us and offered us representation. Guys, Democrats, Republicans, all of you guys need to do better offering us real representation, okay? This COVID response, Andrew Cuomo and granting him executive powers, guys, our legislator, they should be embarrassed. Whether they're a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. It's not a party issue. This guy's executive order should have sunsetted and been renegotiated at least 3 times by now.
Yeah, right.
It's
It's
real.
extended through what, April of next year? Like it's a long executive order. So functionally, we have a dictatorship in New York State right now.
Yeah. And it's not like he wasn't a dictator before. It's just worse.
Yeah, right. He always seemed to find ways around stuff. Like if he really wanted something passed, Governor Cuomo gets it done. Like
He declares executive legislative orders, and so there's no debate, and we pass 893 laws in 1 year. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, just a ridiculous number of laws, a ridiculous number of changes, and we're still in limbo. Some businesses are still in limbo in relation to his COVID response. Like gyms, they're still being told like, well, we don't know when you guys are going to be able to open. It's just too unsafe. We're able to open schools, but not gyms.
We
So
can
arbitrary.
open. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's another one that sets me off. We can't open gyms when your personal health is obviously a way to fight a COVID attack on your body. It doesn't. We don't make sense. These guys don't make sense. I don't want to say we because I don't want to take any responsibility for the decisions Andrew Cuomo has made. The Moreland Commission. I mean, these things. This guy has told us who he was, who he is, over and over again. Period.
Yeah. And so, if you're elected, then, I assume you will work to hold the governor accountable and to make sure that the legislative branch functions a bit better.
Yeah. As a state senator, my most valuable thing will be a platform, and that platform will be used to go from community to community to explain to them that they have the ability to make laws that benefit their community and that they don't have to cooperate with the state. The state's broke anyway. They're not paying the communities out on their infrastructure. They're not paying them out on the requirements that the state says, hey, we're going to give you X amount of dollars for. They're not meeting up with it. They're not meeting their obligations. We should be remaking those laws today, pushing back against unfunded mandates. Can I give myself a shout out? At Tim for 51 on Facebook and Tim for New York State Senate on Twitter.
See, Tim, you're a pro. I was just about to ask you to do it. You got it for me. All right, so
brother.
that's where you can find Tim. Tim, thank you so much for joining us today on Radio
I had
Free
a blast,
New York.
man. I hope you
All
have
right,
me
man.
back, man. I hope I didn't ruin
it's good.
everything.
Yeah, it's a good conversation. All right, I'll be back tomorrow at noon. Talk to you then, y'all.